Villagers of Marlin's Cove had long whispered about the Abyssal Trench, a shadowy chasm in the ocean that seemed bottomless. Fishermen avoided it, saying that strange lights glowed beneath its depths on moonless nights, and divers who ventured too close often returned shaken, or not at all. Elara was not one to heed such warnings. As a marine archaeologist, she lived for the thrill of the unknown. She had spent years collecting tales of the trench, piecing together fragments of stories about an underwater structure, what some called the Eternal Library. The library holds the knowledge of the world, the old sailor had told her at the dock one evening. His voice was low, his eyes scanning the horizon nervously. But it's cursed. Those who enter never leave the same. Elara leaned forward. Have you seen it? The man shook his head. Not me, but I've known those who've tried. They come back haunted, or they don't come back at all. Undeterred, Elara began preparing for her most ambitious dive yet. Armed with state-of-the-art equipment and accompanied by her trusted colleague, Ian, she set out to uncover the truth about the Eternal Library. The boat rocked gently as they neared the trench, the water growing darker and more foreboding. Ian glanced at her, his expression uneasy. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. Elara adjusted her gear. If the library exists, it's a discovery that will change everything. We can't turn back now. As they descended into the water, the light from the surface faded, replaced by an eerie bioluminescent glow emanating from the trench's walls. "Do you see that?" Ian whispered through the comms. Elara nodded. Ahead, a faint golden shimmer appeared, growing brighter as they approached. Her heart raced. "That has to be it," she said. Moments later, they emerged into a vast underwater clearing. There, at the heart of the trench, stood a structure unlike anything they had ever seen, an enormous library, its walls carved from iridescent stone and covered in glowing runes. Elara and Ian approached the library cautiously, their flashlights illuminating the intricate carvings on the walls. The main entrance was a towering archway, its surface etched with symbols that seemed to shift and ripple like water. "What do you think it means?" Ian asked, running his gloved hand over the carvings. "It's a language," Elara said, her voice tinged with awe. "But not one I've ever seen before." As they stepped through the archway, the water around them seemed to vanish. Elara gasped, realizing they were standing in a dry, air-filled corridor. "How is this possible?" Ian asked, looking around in amazement. Elara's eyes darted to the walls, which were lined with towering shelves filled with books and scrolls. Each item glowed faintly, as if alive. "The library's preserving them," she said, reaching for a book. The moment her fingers touched it, the world around her shifted. She was no longer in the corridor, but standing in a vibrant meadow under a blazing sun. A man in ancient robes stood before her, speaking in a language she didn't understand. "Elara," Ian's voice snapped her back to the library. She was holding the book, its glow dimming. "What just happened?" Ian asked, his face pale. I think the books contain memories," Elara said. "Not just knowledge, but entire experiences." They continued deeper into the library, marveling at the endless shelves and the strange hum that filled the air. But the further they went, the more unsettling the atmosphere became. The glow of the runes grew harsher, and faint whispers echoed through the halls. "Do you hear that?" Ian asked, his voice trembling. Elara nodded, her pulse quickening. The whispers seemed to come from the books themselves, as if they were alive and watching. "We should be careful," she said. As they ventured further, the corridor opened into a massive central chamber. A grand staircase spiraled upward, its steps glowing with the same golden light. At the top stood a figure cloaked in shimmering robes, its face obscured. "Welcome," the figure said, its voice resonating through the chamber. "You have entered the Eternal Library, the keeper of all knowledge." Elara and Ian exchanged nervous glances. "Who are you?" Elara asked. "I am the Librarian," the figure replied. "I guard the knowledge within these walls, ensuring it is preserved for those who seek it." "We're here to learn," Elara said, "to understand the library and share its secrets with the world." The librarian's voice grew colder. Knowledge is a gift, but it is also a burden. Not all who seek it are prepared for its weight. Ian stepped forward. We're prepared. We came all this way. The librarian extended a hand, and a glowing book appeared. To leave, you must prove your worth. Take this book and open it. But know that what you see cannot be unseen. Elara hesitated but took the book. As she opened it, a flood of images and sensations overwhelmed her. Wars, discoveries, triumphs, and tragedies from across time. It was as if she were living countless lives in an instant. When the vision ended, she collapsed to the floor, gasping. Ian knelt beside her. Are you okay? Elara nodded, though tears streamed down her face. I saw everything, the beauty and the horror of humanity. The librarian stepped closer. You have glimpsed the truth. Now, you must decide. Will you leave with this knowledge, or will you remain as its guardian? Elara looked at Ian, who shook his head. We need to go, he said. This place is too much for us. But Elara hesitated. She felt a deep connection to the library, as if it were calling her to stay. I can't leave, she said finally. Ian's eyes widened. What? You can't be serious. The world needs to know about this place, Elara said. And I need to protect it. The librarian nodded. A noble choice. You will become the next keeper, ensuring the knowledge within these walls is preserved for generations. Ian tried to argue, but Elara smiled sadly. This is my path. Go back and tell the world our story. As Ian reluctantly left, the librarian placed a hand on Elara's shoulder. You have chosen wisely. The library will guide you, as it has guided many before you. Years later, explorers would find the trench but never return. Some claimed to see a figure watching from the library's entrance, a woman whose eyes glowed with the wisdom of ages.